Let's see how to use integral calculus and definite integrals to compute the work done in physical processes. To begin with, we review the notion of work when both force and distance are constant. For example, let's determine the total work done when moving a brick with a mass of 2 kilograms and a depth of 0.1 meters from the ground to the top of a 1 meter table. Here, the depth of the brick doesn't matter because the entire brick moves exactly 1 meter when the bottom of the brick is rested on the table. The general law in this case, where the force and the distance are both held constant, says that the work done is equal to the product of the force acting on the brick and the distance the brick moves. So in this situation, where the brick moves 1 meter, the force is 2 kilograms times the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second squared, and the distance is 1 meter. So the work done in this case is the product of those numbers, which is 19.6 Newton meters. Now let's imagine the situation is a bit more complicated. Suppose that we have a stack of 4 bricks, each with a mass of 2 kilograms and a depth of 0.1 meters, and we want to determine the work required to move the bricks to the top of the table. Now the depth matters because the top brick moves less distance than the second brick, which travels less distance than the third brick, and so on. In particular, we see that the first brick must move a distance of 0.7 meters to the top of the table. Using our understanding of work in the constant case, the amount of work done to move this brick is 2 kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared times 0.7 meters. Again, this is a mass times acceleration times distance, or a force times distance, for the first brick. Then the second brick is similar, but now the vertical distance traveled is 0.8 meters, and thus the work done is the mass times acceleration times distance, which is 2 kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared times 0.8 meters. Do this again for the third and fourth bricks, where the third moves 0.9 meters and the fourth moves 1 meter. Once again, we get the work done for each as the mass times acceleration times distance traveled. As we have computed the work done for each brick, we see that the total work done in lifting the stack of bricks is the sum of the work values for each of the 4 individual bricks. Adding up these 4 work values gives us a total work done of 66.64 Newton meters to lift the 4 bricks to the top of the table. With these 2 examples in hand, we can now move to a more interesting situation. Suppose we want to compute the work done when pulling a cable that is hanging off of the top of a building to the top of the building. In this situation, we note that different parts of the cable move different distances, meaning we need to use the same idea like the one with the stack of bricks. However, the cable is one continuous object instead of a bunch of discrete objects. Nonetheless, we will essentially use the same idea. We can think of the cable as being sliced up into many small pieces. In this case, the cable has uniform density, so each small slice will weigh the same but move a different distance. The slices at the top move almost not at all, and the slices at the bottom move most of the length of the cable. From this, the total work done can be computed by adding up the work done on each slice. If we let the width of the slices get really small, this is the calculus process, then we get an integral that adds up the work at every single point along the cable. Let's see this in an actual example. Suppose we have a 50-meter cable with a density of 5 kilograms per meter hanging over a 60-meter building. Note that this means that the cable is a total of 250 kilograms, but having the mass per length is usually more helpful. The question we want to answer is this: what is the work done when pulling the cable to the top of the building? To figure this out, we first place a coordinate system on the building. For this problem, we imagine a y-axis with 0 at the top of the building and 60 at the bottom of the building. That means that the end of the cable is at a y-coordinate of 50. Now we slice the cable up into many small pieces. The number of pieces doesn't matter, as we will eventually imagine smaller and smaller such slices. With this setup, we can analyze the work done to pull each individual slice, using an assumption that the entire slice has a constant mass and moves a fixed distance. First, we note that each slice has the same mass. If we zoom in, we can say that the length of a slice is delta y meters. Then because the density of the cable is 5 kilograms per meter, the slice has a mass of 5 delta y kilograms. Next, if we zoom in again, we see that each slice has a y-coordinate. This y-coordinate gives the distance from the slice to the top of the building, so that is exactly the distance the slice will move when the cable is pulled to the top. Therefore, this slice moves a distance of y meters, where y is the y-coordinate of the slice. Now we have enough information to determine the work done to move the small slice. The work in this case is the product of the distance moved by the slice and the force acting on the slice. So we have the work done on the slice is y meters multiplied by 5 delta y kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared. The latter product is a mass times acceleration, which gives the vertical force acting on the slice. The work to move the slice simplifies to the quantity 49y delta y Newton meters. And now we use the fact that this work formula applies to each slice, since it depends on the slice's y-coordinate. So we can add up the work done to move each slice to get the total work done. Here we imagine that we have n different slices at y-coordinates y1 up to yn. So we get a total work done given by 49y1 delta y plus 49y sub 2 times delta y, and so on, ending by adding 49y sub n delta y. But now as we imagine the size of delta y getting smaller, so we get more and more slices, this sum becomes an infinite sum at every y-coordinate between 0 and 50, and this process produces a definite integral from 0 to 50 of 49y dy. Here we use 0 as the lower bound because it is the y value of the least y-coordinate where there is a slice, and we use 50 as the upper integral bound because it is the y value of the greatest y-coordinate where there is a slice at the bottom of the cable. We compute this integral, resulting in 61,250 Newton meters. This is the total work required to move the cable to the top of the building. Thinking of slicing up the cable into small pieces is only one way to approach this problem. Another technique is to imagine slicing the distance pulled into little pieces and then computing the work done in pulling the remaining cable through each small distance slice. Let's see how this works. Once again, we set up a coordinate system. Just to be a little different this time, let's place 0 on the y-axis at the bottom of the building, so that the top of the building is at the y-coordinate 60 and the bottom of the cable is at y equals 10. Now slice the pulling process into small pieces. At one given instant, the cable mass is dependent on the remaining length of the cable, and that is related to the y-coordinate of the bottom of the cable at that instant. So if the bottom of the cable is at y-coordinate y, then the cable mass is given by 5 kilograms per meter multiplied by the length of the cable, which is 60 minus y meters according to our axis system. This means that the mass of the remaining cable is 300 minus 5y kilograms. If we zoom in again, we see that we are going to pull the cable a short distance. We're going to call this distance delta y meters, and that means that the distance this portion of cable is pulled is exactly delta y meters. But then we have enough information to determine the amount of work done to pull the cable through this small distance slice. That work is given by delta y meters multiplied by 300 minus 5y kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared, where the latter product is again the force given by mass times acceleration. This work computation simplifies to 9.8 times 300 minus 5y times delta y Newton meters. Once again, we get the total work done by adding up the work done on all the tiny pulls, one at each y-coordinate. Here we would get 9.8 times 300 minus 5y1 times delta y, plus 9.8 times 300 minus 5y2 times delta y, and so on, adding up until we get to 9.8 times the quantity 300 minus 5y sub n times delta y. Once again, as we let delta y get smaller and smaller, this sum becomes an integral. In particular, the work done will be the integral from y equals 10 to y equals 60 of 9.8 times 300 minus 5y dy. Here, the lower bound of the integral is y equals 10 because that is the least possible y-coordinate for the bottom of the cable. And the upper bound is y equals 60 because that is the greatest y value for the bottom of the cable. Notice that this is a different integral than the previous one, but when we compute the value of the integral, we again get 61,250 Newton meters, even though the axis system and the strategy for computing work in this case were completely different. There are many other processes for which we can compute the work done. As another example, let's consider a spring. You might know that the force required to hold a spring stretched is proportional to the distance it is stretched from its natural length. This is known as Hooke's law. That means that the work required to stretch or compress a spring has a variable force over the distance stretched. And so we again will need an integral to compute the work done by adding up tiny little bits of force times distance computations. For example, suppose we have a spring with a spring constant of 0.1 newtons per centimeter, and we want to know the total work required to stretch the spring from 10 centimeters beyond its natural length to 25 centimeters beyond its natural length. To figure this out, we again set up an axis system. This time, we will use x-coordinates because we think of the system as stretching or compressing horizontally. Then we make a choice in this case to place the x equals 0 coordinate at the end of the spring sitting at its natural length. Of course, we could also make other choices, such as placing x equals 0 at the base of the spring. The coordinate choice should not affect the final amount of work done. Now, if the spring is held stretched at a distance of x centimeters from its natural length, then Hooke's law says the force acting on the spring at that distance is 0.1 newtons per centimeter times x centimeters, which simplifies to 0.1 x newtons. Then to stretch the spring some small distance, let's call it delta x, beyond its current position, the work required is again the product of the force acting on the spring and the distance stretched, giving 0.1 x newtons times delta x centimeters, or 0.1 x delta x newton centimeters. With this computation in hand, we can answer the desired question. If we start with the spring stretched 10 centimeters from its natural length, we can imagine continually stretching the spring small distances, computing the work on those small stretches until the spring reaches the desired distance of 25 centimeters from its natural length. Then we add up the work from all those tiny stretches, which gives 0.1 x sub 1 delta x plus 0.1 x sub 2 delta x, and so on up to 0.1 x sub n delta x. But then we apply our same old trick. We imagine the size of delta x shrinking to almost 0, and then the sum of the works becomes an integral. In this case, we get the integral from 10 to 25 of 0.1 x dx. Here we have 10 as the lower bound because that is where the spring starts and is the least x coordinate where we stretch from the natural length. And 25 is the upper bound as it is where the spring stops stretching and it is the greatest x coordinate where we consider stretching from natural length. To finish the problem, we can compute the integral, and we see that stretching this spring from 10 centimeters to 25 centimeters beyond its natural length requires 26.25 newton centimeters of work. As previously noted, there are other processes where we can use the same techniques to compute work done. For instance, to determine the amount of work required to pump water out of a tank, we can imagine cutting the water into small slices and then determining the force acting on the slice of water and the distance the slice of water must travel. From there, we can find the work done on each of the slices. Then we imagine going slice by slice and computing the work done on each slice. We can add up the work done on all the slices, and the final sum can be replaced by a definite integral, which will allow us to find the total work done in pumping all of the water out of the tank. As always, completing these types of problems requires you to assign an appropriate coordinate system and then figure out the appropriate values for the small slice. You can finish the problem by adding up the values for the slices at all the possible slice locations using a definite integral, where the bounds are determined by the possible slice locations.